I can't believe he kicked me out on the streets right when my YouTube channel was about to kick off. I can't believe. Who's there? What's that? What?
Gary!
Hey, step aside, bitch. Let's see here. Are you a body type 1 or a body type 2? A body type 2! A beautiful baby body type 2! Your mother and I thought of an amazing name for you. Now that's a good name, don't you think? Fits you perfectly. Oh, looks like they finished the gene projection as well. Let's see what you look like when you grow up. Wow, you're gonna look a lot like our neighbor. See that, Catherine? He looks like Jimmy across the street.
Oh, that's great, honey. James?
Oh my God, Catherine, you're such a bitch. You always fucking do this. God, everything's about you. Everything's always about you. Oh, gosh, get the baby out of here. Put it in the garbage disposal or something. Come on, move, get out of here. I'm gonna get out of here. God. Hello, dear viewer. Today is my first foray into a different universe, and you are most welcome to join me in this here endeavor. Fallout. I like Fallout. I really do. It is one of my favorite franchises of all time. It is a franchise that draws me back time and time again, especially since the release of Fallout Tale of Two Wastelands, a modification that perfectly and seamlessly combines the stories of Fallout 3 and New Vegas into one experience. And after having watched this new season alongside the first season, I have come to the simple conclusion that the writers have either little to no understanding or no care for what Fallout is. And that is precisely what I'll take a look at today.
And we kind of settled on another very simplistic idea, which is just Fallout is a vibe. And, if the show can kind of embody that feeling, we're doing great. So that was sort of the very simplistic goal with this thing. And I'm surrounded by Fallout-y stuff, so I feel like I've been consumed by the vibe.
Due to having eyes, presumably, the writers and directors have clearly looked at images of the games. Played them, however, I sincerely doubt. It is important to begin where I think they pull most visual inspiration from, and it is that of Bethesda's later Fallout games. I'll put them in 3 generations like this so you understand that I do think, and this is how I have thunk. So Generation 1 is obviously Fallout 1 and Fallout 2, and then the others like Fallout Tactics and whatnot. Generation 2 is Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas, the 3D-ification, if you will, of Fallout. And Generation 4 is Fallout 4 and Fallout 76. So it's a complicated thing. I do believe most design cues are taken from the later Fallout games, but at the same time they are stealing visuals from Fallout New Vegas because it's the superior game. Bethesda doesn't appear to be aware that we know that they know that their games are shit.
16 times the detail.
Who's laughing now?
And they are using New Vegas as a crutch to keep their own crap afloat, whilst beating New Vegas to death with it. I will be drawing most of my information and my opinions from Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas, for those are the games that I grew up with and those that I played the most. Clearly, the show is not based on Fallout 1 and Fallout 2. Because why would the Master not have easily found this vault and taken everyone and Shrekified them? As we can see here, the vault door is on the surface. But obviously it takes design cues from each generation regardless to hold our childhoods hostage.
Degenerates like you belong on a cross.
I find that in the show there is a lack of compelling villains and especially a compelling story for the most part. The standouts, however, when it comes to stories is Barb and Cooper Howard in their pre-war segments, which I will touch on later. Who is the bad guy in the show? I do not think this is a case of moral grayness or the way of the wasteland. I genuinely barely consider Hank to be any sort of villain. He's just not very interesting. A good character, yes, but he's a terrible, boring villain. And his plan is garbage, and it's stolen from one of the games, which I will also touch on later. Caesar's Legion are obviously not the overarching villains either, because they are busy fighting the stupidest civil war in human history. Even though the show has made the Brotherhood of Steel seem more villainous, they are not the overarching villains either. They are just an interest group. A special interest group, if you will.
As far as we're concerned, everyone else go fuck themselves. Especially you.
You just like that they let you fuck robots.
That was one squire.
Is the Enclave supposed to be revealed as the big, overarching baddie again? Probably. I suppose if House is still alive, he can be placed in a more villainous role as well, but it looks like Yes Man might have taken him over and is pretending to be House. Who knows?
Well, hello, old chum.
Who cares at this point?
I do.
The MacGuffin that is called Fusion is more of a villain than anyone else in the show currently, because it is the one thing that causes people to do bad things. So here is an example from Fallout 3 no less, which has a compelling story in a side quest which allows you, the player, to become a villain if you so wish. Namely, the Oasis quest. As you enter the Oasis, you are met by the Tree Minders, a cult worshipping a secluded, hidden oasis of trees and greenery, which is an uncommon sight in the capital wasteland. They tell you their leader, a talking tree, wants to meet you after you drink their special drink. Delicious.
Noticed after people have some of my barbecue sauce, after a while when it kicks in, they get all huggy-buggy.
Surprisingly, your anal cavity was not rearranged and you wake up in front of a tree. A tree called Harold. Or well, the tree is called Bob, but the man inside is called Harold. We actually follow Harold in the previous games in Fallout 1 and Fallout 2. He is the man who broke into a military base, Mariposa military base, and was infected with the FEV. And it caused a tree to start growing out of his head, which eventually grew so large it fixed him in place. And with your arrival to Oasis, he asks you to kindly kill him. But the Tree Minders do not want you to kill him. They want you to either stop his growth so it doesn't spread across the wasteland, or, alternatively, make it grow faster. With this story, you are given 3 or 4 options as to how you want to deal with him. Option 1. Rub his meat to make the wasteland pee-pee grow bigger.
Give your meat a good old rub. That's it. Nice and hot. Hot and spicy meat. Yeah, boy.
Option 2. Put the lotion on its skin so the oasis doesn't continue to grow. And option 3 is to destroy his heart so that the poor sod dies. And option 4 is the morally correct choice, because we don't have time to waste running around in some dank cave somewhere, so you burn him down.
What we really need to do is create a powerful sense of dread. See, the longer the note, the more dread.
Due to how well the game was written in comparison to the show, and how compelling the characters are, I feel you are more villainous by burning down a single guy in a tree over nuclearing the so-called Shady Sands. I'm sorry, but I still feel like Hank nuclearing Shady Sands does not make any sense, regardless of the excuses the show gives about civilization and whatnot. Because if Voltec or Hank wanted to prevent civilizations from forming, why would he not have nuked New Vegas? Oh, but House might still have his laser defenses. But that's fine, he can just smuggle the nuke in, just like he did in the show.
Oh, lovely. They've sent me a moron. You are out of uniform, soldier! Where is your power armor?
So now, of course, we come to the amazing conundrum which I struggle with so much in the show. Why is everyone special needs?
Gandalf?
During the course of the show, the words of Graham Wagner, one of the showrunners, remains quite true to this day.
Instead of having people be awesome, why not have them be dumb?
Yes. Why make them smart when they can be dumb? What a good excuse that is for poor writing choices. My God. And by God indeed are the characters dumb, stupid, silly, or sacrificed for the sake of comedy.
You want to make my cock explode now?
Okay, that was a little bit funny. The marvelization of media in general has put it in a sorry state, to say the least. Nothing is allowed to be serious. Nothing is allowed to ever remain as a tragedy, or even a little bit sad, for too long.
On second thoughts, let's not go to Camelot. It is a silly place.
Right.
Whilst there is a lot of comedy within Fallout, references, in-jokes and such, it is still fundamentally not a comedy. But it is full of satire and drama.
You're funny looking. Hey, I can almost see right down the barrel. Do that again.
Which seems to be wholly misunderstood by the showrunners. Just because a piece of drama can contain moments, or a lot of moments of levity, does not inherently make it a comedy. One of the most telling signs of a bad writer are those who think that making a show for teens means that there can't be any complexity, because they won't understand. This is a falsehood beyond belief. Whilst sure, teens and older kids may not have the emotional maturity to handle complex themes or violent gore, they are still highly logical and clever. Most of them. As a former substitute teacher, I can tell you that those little shits will prod you from every angle, twisting and turning your logic against you.
I said, whoever threw that paper, your mom's a hoe.
And dumbing down TV shows, movies, games, and things in general because they are dumb only shows that the people making it are even dumber themselves. Some of the best media out there that are still available for consumption are works of art that can be understood by children and adults alike. But of course, writing complex, nuanced, and good stories takes talent. Much the same, they baby adults in a similar manner, dumbing things down for the lowest common denominator.
The recommended amount of dedicated RAM I should have to a server.
Of stupid. And sadly in this case, I must indubitably state that the carpet doth nay match thy drapes. I think the philosophy of Fallout can very much be seen with the death screen of Fallout 1.
The darkness of the afterlife is all that awaits you now. May you find more peace in that world than you found in this one. Your bones are scraped clean by the desolate wind. Your vault will now surely die, as you have.
Don't call me Shirley.
Here we can clearly see that in spite of all the goofs, the gaffes, the commentary and parody of American society, corporatism, the Red Scare and all the rest,
Death is a preferable alternative to communism.
the core of the game is still the survival of mankind after the apocalypse. So now I'm going to show a few examples of pure, unadulterated stupidity on the show to emphasize how retarded this show can be. Looking back at Season 1, why the hell would Hank open the door when there is clearly shown to be inter-vault communication between Vaults 31, 32 and 33 without any issue? Why is it that Hank didn't seem to question anything in regards to all these new faces appearing? Did the people in Vault 33 not have any relatives they wanted to see in Vault 32? Why did Hank not question who this new overseer was, especially seeing as they're all, nearly always as I understood it, supposed to be one of Bud's buds? By the use of any logic, the main event that kicks off Season 1 should not have occurred if Hank had utilized his brain. Why the fuck did the Enclave turret miss Wilzig? How did Maximus miss every shot against the cleric and vice versa? Why did Cooper hand cold fusion to the president who forcibly annexed and basically enslaved all of Canada? Or maybe the president is just a figurehead and the big bad is actually the vice president. Who the hell knows? I think one of the best examples of how stupid and ridiculous the Fallout show has become is Season 2's Death Claws. An excellent setup for their reveal. Some actual terror and great acting. I wonder when and how they'll make an entrance. I'm sure it'll be amazing. Oh, they have taken over the strip? How? Why have these obviously hungry Deathclaws not jumped over the gate or moved around it? Why is nobody concerned about the Deathclaws? Why are the Deathclaws only now able to get through the gate when there's a hole?
There was a hole.
How come the Deathclaws are strong enough to make Maximus in power armor fly several meters through a locked gate, then continue to skid for several more meters until coming to a complete halt, but not strong enough to climb over a shitty raggedy wall or find another alternative route? Because they are clearly hungry, as they are shown cannibalizing each other, it's obviously harder to kill a Deathclaw for a Deathclaw than it is to kill a gaggle of crackheads in Freeside. Every time I see a Deathclaw in the game, I still go, oh shit, so it doesn't beat my ass. But in the show, we are left with these fucking Goombas.
Boyle.
So now at this point, I've arrived at the most important question in regards to the Fallout show. Is the writer retarded? Yes.
This is getting out of hand. Now there are two of them.
Yeah! Who won the lottery?
But we can't expect God to do all the work.
One of the most important and maybe a little overlooked aspect of the Fallout universe is the ideological struggle. Not just capitalism versus communism, but that of the disparate warring factions we encounter in the games. I do not intend for a second to want to get dragged into a debate on current politics. And most of us, when we enjoy whichever media we enjoy, from books, movies, shows, or whatever it may be, I tend to hate stories that are allegories of contemporary politics. Be you pro this or pro that, it does not matter, because I believe that one of the things that can truly unify people are stories, because politics do like to destroy relationships, but stories can help to unify people.
Choose boss in this gym.
But this does not mean I don't enjoy fictional political struggles. And fictional politics can be highly interesting for us to observe and discuss. But what writers in Hollywood appear to have forgotten is this. Just because you accurately portray an ideological structure, be they good or bad, does not mean that you agree with the point of view or the ideology. One of the reasons why I find myself as a massive Game of Thrones fan was that it allowed these differing ideologies, religions, and interfamilial politics to occur, without judgment or hindrance by the writer himself. Whatever you think of today's modern politicking, I've always found that in a democracy, it is a good thing that through art, history, and media to explore different ideological structures to gain a better appreciation for democracy.
Anakin, my allegiance is to the Republic, to democracy!
To be a better voter, to be an engaged citizen, we must be allowed to be treated like adults with our media, where we can say, I do not agree with this ideology, but I understand how they arrived at this conclusion, and then explore how a person can end up with a view you oppose is not dangerous. It is an exercise in empathy. For if you are never allowed or unable to consider an opposing view, that in turn makes you a less capable individual, and by extension, less informed. But the Fallout show hides away from exploring the different ideologies of the wasteland. It cowers in fear of nuance and complexity, and this is where the games truly shine. So now it is time to tackle some of the lovely factions in the Fallout show and the games. The Brotherhood of Steel is torturous to watch in the show, and every time I see those bastards, it is a constant, unadulterated cringe fest of a pseudo-fascistic religious and genocidal order that has turned away from the original portrayal to something that I would suggest is actually more akin to the Enclave.
Double time it over to the armory and get your issue, then report back to me. Dismissed!
And naturally, the Brotherhood of Steel is flawed. It is a pseudo-religious order of people pretending to be knights, keeping the wasteland safe as they see it, through gathering technology and killing mutants. But the main technology that they choose to gather is not that of agricultural technology like Veronica and the game suggest, but weapons. Always weapons. But they're also highly guarded and isolationist, but at their core, I do not think that they are bad people. They just have different priorities, namely themselves. And you cannot fault a group of people looking after themselves in a wasteland. But the show Brotherhood is portrayed as well-armed barbarians and is absolutely pathetic. Of course, the different chapters should behave slightly differently to show differences in geography and local culture, but they all act and talk like raiders.
Yeah, and where we come from, women don't get to talk.
Why the fuck are these two playing with a presumably live grenade and no one cares except for Maximus? That is a common theme for all the different factions in the show that I've noticed. None of the factions are ever allowed to appear competent, be they Legion, Brotherhood, or the NCR. All of them behave, look, and act mostly like raiders. And when every faction sounds like raiders,
no one will be.
Does this make sense? The central ideological struggle between a tyrannical dictatorship and a flawed democracy is gone, due to the fact that none of the factions are ever allowed a shred of being competent. Funny enough, I wrote this line before I watched episode 7 of season 2, where they summarized the entire conflict like a bunch of apes.
New California Republic, just like the Legion. They all have their problems. Expansionist tendencies, unpopular foreign policy.
I think I do understand. One side is murdering people, enslaving them, crucifying them, and the other side is vaguely problematic.
They robbed us of this, or perhaps not even us. They robbed themselves of one of the greatest themes in the story because they want to appear clever, but instead they now appear retarded. The NCR versus the Legion is not just a case of choosing that of the lesser evil. No, this is about the fundamental values of each faction. If you strip away the corruption, aggressive expansionism, and oligarchic flavorings of the NCR at its core is a well-intentioned democracy with the intention of restoring a civilized way of life with rule of law and due process. It is hilarious that they killed off the NCR and then do callbacks to them constantly. It looks like they realized in their own special way they sort of fucked up.
Never underestimate the power of brand recognition.
Also, how fun is it to see that this entire store of ammunition, weapons, and armaments have just been left here long enough for dust to collect, yet no scavenger has checked this out. All of these super valuable weapons and this goddamn armor was just left here? Are you serious? But in any case, if you look at the Legion, their fundamental values are in essence that of total domination, incredibly aggressive expansion, and genocide. And these are the values found at its core, without which the Legion would not be the Legion. But the Legion is still a response to the harsh conditions of the Wasteland, an iron fist to beat the Wasteland back into a civilization. There are of course benefits to the way that the Legion runs things. The harsh punishments against criminals, and certainly those that benefit from slavery think it's great.
I wish I would evolve. Where's my iconic slave role? Hey, motherfucker. I wish I would evolve. F*** all y'all! F*** all y'all! Warp speed, don't rainbow read me.
The roads are also kept safe by crucifying raiders and bandits, but freedom is limited, and there is no right to due process. There is only the will of Caesar. And again, it is so awful to see how every faction in the show ripped from the games behave a little better or worse than raiders. There is no nuance because all of them act the same without minute visual differences.
Who is it? What? I should kick your fucking ass. Who is this?
One of the most compelling stories in Fallout is one which you can play in Fallout 3's DLC, The Pit. It is to me one of the best pieces of Fallout media out there, not necessarily due to gameplay, but due to its characters and story elements. In this DLC, you're introduced to Werner, a former slave from the Pit, requesting help from you to help cure the Great Plague affecting the Pit and free its people from the raider warlord controlling it and enslaving them. Here you're introduced to the horrid conditions in which the slaves live in, and the terrible raiders oppressing them in all manner of ways. Beatings, murder, slave fighting pits, and suicide missions in a plague-infested yard. You see, the Pit is affected by a plague that turns people into trogs, and there are rumors of a cure being developed. Your task is to free the slaves and bring the cure to Werner. And around this time is where you're introduced to Asher, which I think is a very interesting anti-hero or anti-villain. I'm unsure which category he actually falls into, but I think that it is quite clear to say that he is a villain. But so as it turns out is Werner. Yes, dear Werner here is a former slave of the Pit, but he was also at one point Asher's right-hand man, and only now wants to free the slaves because they did it to him after he tried to supplant Asher. So in reality, I believe that the slave state would still be maintained, but under new management. And as it turns out, the cure is actually Asher's child, Marie. Yes, the little baby holds the key to curing the Trog problem. So who do you think has the resources and ability to create the cure? The woman in the lab coat or Werner? It all comes down to the DOC's conclusion, to its final choice. Will you kidnap a baby, murder her parents, and leave her to strangers for an uncertain future? Or will you betray the slaves and leave the cure in the hands of Asher and his wife, trusting that they can deliver a better future whilst sacrificing others? I actually find myself struggling with the choice, because some may see it as a simple binary choice of freeing the slaves equals good, but I think it's more complicated than that.
Hear me out, hear me out. Hear me out, please, hear me out.
You see, simply handing the child to Werner for a cure could potentially harm and kill the child, but it could also lead to total chaos, meaning more death and suffering than the current state of affairs. Asher can and should treat the slaves way better. Kidnapping people from across the wasteland to work for him is obviously wrong, but after a cure is developed, I think Asher stands the best chance to actually build a stable civilization that can be sustained without slavery. Whereas the alternative leaves the pit to be left as a husk as it was before, full of raiders and petty warlords fighting for control with no end in sight. It is a tough, moral question to spin around in your head, and there is no easy answer. In the end, no matter what choice I make, I always wonder if it was the wrong choice. And those sorts of stories, with hard-hitting alternatives that make you think, are always the greatest of experiences.
But making a choice is hard, and making such an important decision on an empty stomach is an awful idea. So naturally, the only alternative to fix this is to eat the baby. Fuck 'em all.
That's what you get.
I believe they're trying to come up with a moral conundrum of a similar nature for Lucy in Season 2. Should she allow her father to enslave the world with his machines or not? Oh, it's not. She's not going to let him do that. Oh well, that solves that then. As I was thinking about it, I eventually arrived at the conclusion that Hank's plan is literally Brother Elijah's plan in the Dead Money DLC with slight alterations. He is going to force people to comply through a device attached to the neck. Sure, Elijah's would blow up everyone's heads upon the death of a single individual. There's of course differences, but still similar enough. House in the show does not do it for me as I see it. The actor looks the part, but he doesn't feel the part. He lacks that cold, calculated ruthlessness of the New Vegas house. He's played far too goofy and eccentric in the show. This may be a matter of taste, but I feel that they are very different characters from their behavior. Editing herring here. What I meant to say is that I believe he's too eccentrically whimsical. I know that he's described as being eccentric within the deeper lore of Fallout New Vegas and whatnot, but this was specifically with his proclivities towards women, not everyday life. Compare the voice of Renee Auberjonois, fucking what the hell is it? Renee Auberjonois, the voice actor for House in the games, to the voice of the actor in the show.
Give me 20 years, and I'll reignite the high technology development sectors. 50 years, and I'll have people in orbit.
But I did license a piece of software to Westech, which gave me access to the T-45 armor you wore.
It could of course be that House is manipulating his voice to sound more authoritative and stern, but...
Well, hello, old chum.
Oh, I guess he isn't. Well, just the mere cheek that they made House say old chum says it all. Did House win? Probably not. Did the NCR win? No. Did the Legion? Nope. Looks like the Brotherhood did, honestly. It could be that it's a recording of House with Yes Man attempting to manipulate the ghoul or some crap like that. I don't know. It's best not to think too hard because the answer is probably retarded. The only common thread that I see is that we all lose because the story's not very good at all. But now we arrive at the faction Vault-Tec, which has become universe-breaking due to a simple reason. Why doesn't Vault-Tec just rebrand and sell Cold Fusion? I've heard the argument that if they sell Cold Fusion, there would be no reason for Vault-Tec to exist. Which is half true, because like I said, just rebrand. People have argued to me that they want to keep people scared so there's still a need to build their vaults, but it's stupid. Why would you end the world if you can sell unlimited energy? Just pretend it isn't free for God's sakes. And why would you give this technology to a potential competitor in exchange for a mind control device?
You can already control people by having them by the balls by controlling the energy supply of the entire world. Oh yeah, it's probably because all of them are retarded and not thinking for a second because America bad or capitalism bad. Aren't we funny, guys? Buy our t-shirts.
Patrolling the Mojave almost makes you wish for a nuclear winter.
It doesn't matter, does it though?
And now we finally arrive at a place which I actually have some positive things to say about the show, which is namely praising the actors, not you, and the pre-war stuff. The only time I'm engaged in a show about the post-apocalypse and the pre-apocalypse is the time spent before the apocalypse, in the pre-war segments. I love the chemistry between Bob and Cooper. Every scene they are in is electric, and I'm gripped by every second of it because of how well they sell the scene. No matter how stupid I find the overarching story to be, these two characters, these two actors make the show for me. The conflict you see growing within Bob, the uncertainty, and Cooper, having grown jaded, is slowly starting to crawl out of his shell to try and be that good guy, that good cowboy that he always portrayed in movies. So sincerely, props to Walton Goggins and Francis Turner for their amazing performances. I hope they don't break their backs carrying the show. Also, while we're here, fuck the Ghouls theme. I don't want to get copyrighted, but this is roughly what it sounds like to my ears. Lucy has gotten very little to do across season 2, and I'd actually consider that the main driving force of the show is sadly no longer its main character, but it is Hank and the Ghoul. She has been making her own choices, which is good, but to her own detriment, but she's growing bolder and I'd say becoming a better character. But the conflict between Lucy and her father is not as interesting and passionate as the one between the Ghoul and Hank, because Lucy's goals are moral, whereas the Ghoul's are personal. Maximus, oh Maximus, what a waste of a good actor. He's used too much for comic relief and not allowed to grow dramatically in the show, being portrayed as a bit of a naive idiot. But I love the fact that he decided to make a choice to stop Hot Dog Man from killing the children and trying to prevent a war. I wish they gave us more of this more serious, goal-oriented Maximus instead of using his character so often for cheap laughs. Remind you of anyone? Thaddeus is always too much, stop it. I hate everything to do with the Vault subplot and everything that's going on here. I do not care, I do not care. It's wasted B-plot or C-plot shit material that just wastes time. The show has essentially stolen the visuals from the game and divorced themselves from them, whilst remaining wholly reliant on references to the games it seems to hate, to stay relevant. The Fallout TV show is truly a horrible Fallout show, but I will say, if you judged it by itself and removed all the Fallout references, it would be a pretty decent TV show. Maybe. It is fun that this show calls itself Fallout, for I wouldn't really call this Fallout. They should have instead called the show Fall Off, because this show has supposedly fallen off, but I'd like to suggest they were never on track in the first place. I want to love this show, I really do. In spite of how hard I rail against it and how badly I think it's run, I want to love it. Fallout is a franchise I really do care about and that I want to see continued successfully. But at every turn, at every step of the way when I peek my head above the parapet, I am met with the bullet of disappointment. Because it sadly feels to me like Fallout is just set dressing for some terrible showrunners to utilize as a way to draw viewers, rather than wanting to give us amazing or great stories. I'm ready to say that I think that this show probably could be salvaged, but through their choices on how to tell the story in this alternate Fallout reality, I doubt it. But maybe they will. In any case, dear viewer, I love you. Thank you all so much for watching. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe, and all that other cringe shit. If you feel I've earned it, you can support me on Ko-Fi or by becoming a YouTube member. Thank you especially for watching this bit different video than I usually do. I still hope, however, that it was to your liking. I'll see you in the next one. And as always, a thank you to all my wonderful Banu merchantmen, who without all of this would be improbable. And as always...
And as always, a special thanks to my Apex fishies, yeah.
Yes, my wonderful Apex fishies of Raptor Jesus, Magic, and Half-Breed Bastard. thank you very much for the money. And a wonderful thank you to my beautiful sous trimmings of Combat Creations, The Duck, Big Crunk, Mouse Click, and Davidry. The beautiful, fantastic people of Schmieda, Ifanora, Sorgi XD, Albatross, and Ignore Me. And my spectacular enthusiasts of Long Yawn, Feral Goblin Gal, Bloodix, Monk, and Dave of Yogs.